Welcome to Toot Sweet Social Club. It's 5 o'clock in Napa Valley, and that means it's time for 5 o'clock somewhere. Cheers, everybody. TGIF, as always. We're excited here to be with you on Foodie Friday. I am joined on my very far left, your right, by my lovely co-host, Delene Vollenweider. Hi, everybody. She's our local chef host here on 5 o'clock somewhere. We also have in studio tonight the founder of BOCA Farms, Lizzie Moore. Welcome, Lizzie.
Thank you.
So we're looking forward to talking to you and about all this beautiful produce that's sitting in front of us today. I can't wait to talk more about these. We'll get to those later.
All right.
And also joining us tonight in just a few moments is Crista Luedke. Also, actually, Crista Luedke is another way of saying it. She is the chef owner of Boon, Eat+Drink in Guerneville, California. They really specialize in locally grown, locally sourced menus. So we're really excited to talk about that tonight too, as it relates to these beautiful locally grown products. So Crista, why don't we go ahead and start with you really briefly, because I believe you are actually working in the kitchen tonight. Is that correct?
I am, yeah. Thanks for having me on. I snuck out and then I'll sneak back in. I'm Crista Luedke, and I own a fun little bistro called Boon, Eat+Drink out in Guerneville, right on the main drag. I also just opened up a little gourmet market and deli 3 doors down from Boon called Big Bottom Market, which is another fun little spot.
I love the name. I know, we're all like, yes, I'm like, man, I need to go there.
It gets a lot of laughs. The town was actually known as Big Bottom in 1860. It's a name for high-dense redwood growth along an alluvial flat, so we thought we'd go with the historical nod and also get a few good laughs out of it. So it's gone well for us. But we love local. We actually have 2 gardens. I would love to have Lizzie come over and help, because one of them is kind of sad.
All right. Well, before you launch into that, real quick, let me just give people a few details as to how they can participate in tonight's show. If you are interested in asking our lovely guests any questions, or you just want to be part of the conversation and have a seat at the table here, you can pull up a chair right next to Crista by logging on your webcam. Just go to www.tootsweet.com. And if you want to tweet us questions, you can do that by tweeting to @TootSocial. Use the hashtag 5 o'clock, starting with the number 5, IVE o'clock. And we'd be happy to get your questions answered as soon as possible. We also want to thank our wine sponsor of the month this month, which maybe I shouldn't move that, which is Priest Ranch Petite Syrah from Summerston Vineyards. This is the 2009 Syrah, and it's just a lovely wine. I think we're all enjoying that right now. So thank you very much, Priest Ranch. So Crista, Big Bottom Market. Can't get over that. Love it. So tell us how this all began. How did this get started for you?
Well, the funny part of it all is I started with a small little boutique hotel called Boon Hotel and Spa. My family's been in the restaurant business all my life, and they talked me out of it for long enough for me to get crazy and open a hotel. However, I wasn't quite satisfied, so then I started the restaurant. We will be 4 years at the restaurant this June. And the restaurant being the Boon Eat+Drink. And I wanted to really just focus on local, sustainable, kind of supporting all of our neighbors. And that goes from our growers to our winemakers to the folks that make cheese and meats and everything else. So that's really been sort of the foundation and the basis for how we started. And we also are really big on seasonal. So I get grief all the time when I take some of my favorite dishes off that, my customers have grown to love, but if it's not in season, we don't do it. And we're really focused on trying to bring the freshest ingredients and fun, very wine country sort of food to the table at an affordable price. So it's been great.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. So what got you started cooking? I mean, aside from just the fact that your parents, made you open what made you really want to go back to doing this local thing?
Really, it's just sort of the love for food and wanting to kind of go back to, I say a more simple way of being, yet it's kind of crazy when you open businesses. But it's more simple in that, we have our own chickens now, and we've got 2 gardens, one that's at the hotel, and one that we're really excited about, which is actually behind the restaurant. There was a vacant piece of land that was just where everybody threw trash, and it was just overgrown. And I finally found out after probably 6 months of the restaurant kind of getting its feet under itself, found out who the owners were and approached them and said, can I put a garden out back and just clean up this place? And so many people thought it was initially a community garden. So I'd love to come out and see BOCA. But we use it exclusively for the restaurant, and it's certainly not enough to keep us going, but it's enough to do wonderful like special dishes and feature items and say from the Boon garden. And, you know, so we do a lot of beets, radishes, tons of greens come out of there, many of our herbs. And then we now have 11 little Boon chickens out at the hotel, so they do a lot of work.
We're a huge fan of chickens here because I've had chickens. I currently don't have any right now, but I'm getting ready to refill the coop. And Deline just today got my peeps. I'm very excited. We wanted a real broad range of color of eggs and chickens. So we have a couple of buff Brahmins, a couple of silver lace Wyandottes. We have a couple of buff Orpingtons, thank you. And a Delaware, because we have to have one white egg in the bunch. And then one barred rock. So we're
no Americanas though, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, 2 Americanas. Yes.
Okay, good.
And we got them with the big puffy cheeks, because I hear the big puffy yellow cheeks, you're more likely to get a green egg, I think it is. There's one. Interesting. That's what I was told. So we got some big puffy yellow cheeks. So what kind of chickens do you have out at your garden?
We've got 4 varieties. I've got Cucamarans, Rhode Island Reds, Silver and Gold Wyandottes, and then Australops. So they're all brown egg layers, but they're very proficient layers. So I get a lot of eggs. And you know, I wanted to get some Americanas, but they weren't ready at the time that I needed. And so now I'd have to get several and introduce them so that they wouldn't get picked on by the rest of my gang. So we'll wait and we'll probably add more. But I definitely no rooster because they're here at the hotel. And I'm not sure my guests would like to be awakened by the rooster at, 5 in the morning.
Not fun. Not an invited wake-up call. So what is the most unusual ingredient that you've been cooking with, or either currently in the kitchen or just even in the past?
Unusual. Probably unusual and not currently using would be uni, or sea urchin, which I really love, and I think people are not real familiar with. And there's so many things that you can do with it, and even just to add to sauces or butters and make it really delicious and more savory. But again, generally we're using all stuff that is local, and I feel so blessed to have Sonoma County as the backyard. I mean, our cheeses are from right here in the county, Redwood Hill Farms, which is one of our biggest purveyors, and then Cypress Grove and all these other guys, and then our meats are coming from either Willowside or Gleason Ranch or Liberty Farm Ducks in Petaluma. And so it's so nice to be able to say, like, these ducks were from 30 minutes down the road, and have this type of, local sort of thing going on, and being, and growing them.
Do you have those kinds of moments in the restaurant, like the Portlandia moment where, so what was the name of this chicken?
Right. Every now and again. And it's funny because, one night we had like 2 or 3 of my winemakers in, and then the guy from Liberty Farms Ducks was in. They were all in for dinner the same night, and they all know each other, and it's sort of like this funny thing. And that happens often, and we really like to maintain relationships with our purveyors and our winemakers. And one of the things that I did at the restaurant specifically was my wine list is all Russian River only. So not even Sonoma, but I really stuck to the backyard. It has to be grown or made in the Russian River AVA, or it doesn't go on my menu. And
wow, so that's really specific. That's really specific. Yeah.
But it was important in that, we refer them business and they refer us business, and it really kind of makes it more familial. And the nice thing is even some of the Russian River folks have a Mendocino cab, or maybe they've got a Napa cab or a Napa shard, but they're a Russian River supplier. So I can round out my menu somewhat by bringing in some of those things, but it really, again, just focuses on my growers and my makers. And that's been really neat. You know, I get people coming in all the time saying, we want you to put this on the menu. And I'm like, if it's not grown or made in the Russian River, I have to say sorry. I've held true to that for 4 years. And so what I do with that then is the market is a little bit more widespread. We do Napa, Mendo, Sonoma, and then we even have what we call our exchange students. So we'll bring in some Italian varietal and French.
I like that.
The exchange students. Let's talk a little bit about market because I believe you sell, I hear that you're kind of world famous for your sandwiches there. Is this true?
We are. It sort of started, though, with the biscuit, I have to admit.
I should clarify, because isn't it breakfast sandwiches? Maybe I should clarify, because I'm a huge breakfast, like, I don't know about you guys.
I'm a big breakfast eater.
I love breakfast. Like,
my
and
favorite
I
meal of the
can't
day.
skip it. It is so important to me. I love it. And it's one of my favorite things, actually, to eat out, too, as much as I love to eat at home. And people think I'm crazy because they think, but breakfast is so easy. Like, why go eat out? But anyway. So I'd love to hear about these world-famous breakfast sandwiches.
Sure. Well, it started with the biscuit. This is a recipe that was passed down from my family, my grandma to my mom to me. And at first, my mom wasn't going to give me the recipe. It was one of those, like, she's like, I'll get in there and make them every day. That changed fairly quick since 6 a.m. comes early. But honest to God, my mom, no kidding, is still in there baking for me 5 out of 7 days a week.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
So the fun thing about the biscuits is we've done one that's been quite popular, which is called the Sea Biscuit, and it's cured salmon on a cheddar and thyme biscuit with creme fraiche, pickled onions, and capers with a nice.
Sounds so good. I'm watering.
We're gonna start gnawing on a rock hard here pretty soon. Yeah.
But don't forget, we make a bacon chocolate maple biscuit too.
Really now?
Wow.
So
and what time do those sell out in the morning?
Yeah, well, it's funny. We sometimes will post which ones we have, and we'll say bacon chocolate maple coming out of the oven, and within a few minutes, they're gone, kind of deal. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We actually started selling them at Buy Right Market in their freezer section, just our plain and our cheddar thyme in San Francisco. So any of your San Francisco listeners, if they want to grab some and aren't headed this way, can get them in the freezer section, take them home, and bake them. They're not quite as good, but it is the original recipe. We didn't alter anything. But yeah, so we do those, and then we do a lot of different breakfast sandwiches, and all of our meats come from Zoe's in Petaluma, and we love those guys. They make really beautiful, hormone-free, nitrate-free, sustainable meats, which are delicious. And all of our bread for our baked items comes from Village Bakery in Sebastopol. Anything that we don't make in-house is Village.
Love Village. That's an amazing. If any of you out there have never stopped at Village Bakery, I highly suggest it. Highly. Really great. So what are what is, if you had to pick one thing that you have for sale in the market that people should come get and maybe shop for, not necessarily a sandwich, what would be one of your number one picks?
Sure. We've got a lot of really fun things, but some of the things that I love most, we actually have a private label on our own honey and our own olive oil. And our olive oil maker is actually Merchant and Miller's out of the Healdsburg area, so they're super local. But we like to support a lot of our San Francisco and Oakland folks too. So In a Jam is one of our favorite jams, and that's the jam we feature for using on all of our biscuits. And it's lovely. So we'd like to try to pair what we sell and what we make with the retail product. And we use a lot of the cookbooks that we sell to make and feature in all of our case salads that we sell on the deli side. So Smitten Kitchen and some of these cookbooks, some of the gluten-free cookbooks. And we're just having a lot of fun with it. And also we feature Flying Goat coffee. So if you guys are familiar with Flying Goat out of Santa Rosa and Healdsburg, they're our coffee producer, and we do a custom blend called the Big Bottom Blend, and we do sell their retail coffees out of our shop too. So it's really a fun little mix. It's been a bit of a challenge to try to figure it out because it's part retail, part coffee, part restaurant all in one, and that's been kind of my challenge as of the last year. But it's really nice because they share such a symbiotic relationship with my Boon place, and we're just a couple doors down, so we're constantly running back and forth sharing ingredients, which is fun.
That's great.
Cool.
Did you have anything?
Well, I want to know, what is your favorite dish right now that you're making at your restaurant? And
I know it sounds sad to say because I feel sort of boring, but my favorite entree is an entree that I opened with from the very beginning, and it's never taken a break on my menu. And it's a seared halibut over a heirloom butter beans that we get from Icopee Farms, actually down in Half Moon Bay, so a little bit further. And it's a bed of arugula with capers, and then the slow braised beans, and then a nice, really delicious piece of grilled local halibut. Finished with a basil and parsley pistou over the top. It's just such a super clean dish. It's light yet hearty, and it's been my favorite. But not to forget about the Brussels sprouts, which are sort of what we're famous for. They're flash fried, i.e. deep fried.
I like how you make it sound sort of healthy.
Yeah. If you say they're flash fried, it doesn't seem so bad because they just go in a little less long.
There we go. A little less exposure time to the fat. Yes,
right.
Perfect.
However, we use really great oil in the fryer, so it's a rice bran oil, so it's super clean, one of the most healthy oils to cook with. Super expensive, but it makes all the difference in the flavor. And those are just,
I'm not, maybe it's known in the chef world, but I don't know it. Yeah.
It's expensive, so you don't see it used a lot. Okay. But the flavor of your oil really transfers or complements the flavor of your food, and it can make an enormous difference in the final product.
Amazing.
Yeah. But it's probably double the cost of your standard fryer oil. But it was a decision we made early on. It's something that if you're going to fry something, I want to have it be as healthy as it can be when it comes to the table. But we douse those in a good portion of California Arbequina olive oil, fresh squeezed lemon, raw garlic, chili flakes, salt and pepper, and it's such a simple concept, but the combination is fantastic. And when they walk through the dining room, pretty much every table's like, we're getting that. You just I've converted many a Brussels sprout haters. Send them my way.
Good for you.
We'll do it. We know you have to go soon, but in closing, since our show tonight is really all about eating local, pretty much, I would love to hear your thoughts on why it is important to you to eat local and why it's so important, you think, to continue this movement of restaurants, serving local products on their menu.
Sure. One of the main reasons I think, is obviously supporting our local communities, which are then creating jobs for all the folks that live here and continue to spend money within the community. But also just the transport and what that does on resources and all of that when you're bringing product in from out of the country or, all of that. It all adds up, I think, at the end of the day. And I really just feel like, bringing it back to sort of the core of farming at a smaller scale and the better nutrients that are coming out of these things. Like Lizzie's growing the freshest stuff and it's organic and it's not being treated with pesticides and we know what we're taking in. I don't want to have meat on the table that I don't know where it came from and what it ate and how it was raised, and I want to know where the products come from, and I think it's so important. And I really do think it's important to support our local community more than anything, because it's sort of like, even still today, I sometimes barter with my suppliers. I'll get mushroom foragers that'll say, you don't need to pay me for the mushrooms, just give me a credit and I'll come in and I'll eat. And it's sort of like the old days, but it's sort of the way of the world, I think, as we're kind of changing again. So that's my 2 cents anyway.
Wonderful.
I wish I was here with you guys drinking wine and looking
at
it.
We wish you were too. Thank you so much, Chef. Thank you, Chef Crista Luedke from Boon, Eat+Drink, and also Big Bottom Market in Guerneville. And I can't wait to stop there the next time I'm passing through. So
thank you guys. And I'll definitely be over for a visit. Lizzie, I can't wait to see your garden. So maybe we can have a little trade back and forth and hang out.
I love that. Thank you. That would be fantastic.
Barter system at work.
I know. I like the barter system. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.